Welcome to another live. My name is Laken and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer any questions that you have about goals, planning, life, whatever it is that you want to talk about. And I missed all of you so much last week. I'm so excited to be back this week to hang out and chat and answer all of your questions. I don't see any comments yet. I'm hoping that is just a slight delay in the internet world, and that they will be popping up soon because I see that there are a bunch of people watching, but I don't see any comments yet. So I'm going to give it a second. Hopefully they will join in, and then, oh, there we go. There we go. Hello. Hi. Thank you for all of the congratulations. If you are new here, hi, I was gone last week because I was off getting married. I do have my Mrs. mug to kick it off today. Thank you guys so much. I'm so excited. Okay, let's kick it off with our question before I forget. I always ask you every week what it is that you're drinking while you are hanging out. If you're here live, thank you so much for setting aside time to hang out live. Let me know in the chat what you're drinking while we're hanging out. And if you're catching the replay, thank you for making time for that. Let us know in the comments what it is that you're drinking while you're watching the replay. Hello. Allison, you'll have to change the pic now that you have a wedding ring. I know that's a professional photo though. I don't know when I'm going to get another set of professional photos done. So it might just be the engagement ring for a while. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for all of the congratulations. Thank you. I see some drinks pouring in. We've got Coke, a very cold coffee, Heather. I love the specificity. Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, lots of water. I also have my water nearby as well. Definitely feeling a little dehydrated after traveling yesterday. Ooh, Sarah, cold brew with a hazelnut latte creamer. That sounds delicious. Oh my gosh, this is like my favorite Starbucks drink, and I have to give you a little bit of a tip. So I have been trying to cut back on my caffeine. So I have been ordering it instead of just clicking like the brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso on the app. You can't change any of it into decaf if you do it that way. So I have been going through just the normal shaken espresso and making all the alterations myself. And so that I can make it either full decaf or partial decaf. And when you do it that way, it's less expensive. I don't know how it works or why it is that way, but fun fact, if you go into just the shaken espresso and you swap out oat milk and then you change it from the classic syrup into the brown sugar syrup, it's cheaper. So at least in New York, that's how it works. So just FYI. Lots of coffee, and lots of congratulations. Y'all are so sweet. I'm so excited. All right. Let's get to it. What questions you have today? If you are new here, questions usually range everywhere from goals and what you're working on and what you're struggling with to planning to things going on in my life. I have a feeling today there's going to be a lot of questions about what's going on with me. But if you've got a question about a goal, a specific thing that you're struggling with, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Let's get to the questions. Shade. There are so many other drinks you can order and they come out cheaper. So interesting. And then also when I do it that way, y'all, so not only do I do it that way for decaf purposes, but I do slightly less pumps of the brown sugar syrup because it's just too sweet for me. So, and it saves in your profile too. So next time you can just click it. Absolutely. So helpful. Hello. Mackenzie, goals and all, but let's be real, today is about wedding. Tammy messaged me on Instagram and she called it the one where we only ask questions about the wedding. Y'all, if you have questions about goals or planning, please drop them in the comments, but I am also happy to answer questions about the wedding. All right, Emily, I had a feeling someone was going to ask me this, so I did think about it, and also other people asked us this question, and I have three because I could not come up with just one, so I'm going to give you three. The first one, and I'm going to give them to you in chronological order, not in these are just my top three in no particular order. The first one was, which you'll see pictures later, but I got out of a car, an old-fashioned car, drove me from where I was getting ready down to where the ceremony was on the water. And so when I came out from around the car, I looked out onto the crowd. I couldn't see Sam yet because they were all standing. There were people, there were faces that I saw that I forgot were coming to the wedding. And it just made me so happy that I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot that person was coming and that person. And it just it made me so happy. Number two, Sam and I ate dinner privately after the ceremony before the reception while everyone else was at cocktail hour. And it was fantastic. Not only did I eat an entire plate of food, I have I took a picture of my phone because we ate where my phone was also, of both of our plates totally empty. I ate every bite. The food was great and I got to eat and we got to have just a little bit of alone time. We asked like how each other's day went. Even though we did do a first look, we didn't have that conversation about like, what did you do all day while we were apart, and got to spend some alone time. And that was really nice. And then my third favorite part, if you saw on Instagram, I did post a picture of our cake, which was shaped like the tower, which is the main building at the University of Texas in Austin's campus. And then we had anybody who went to the University of Texas, which included family, friends, all kinds of people, my parents' friends, come onto the dance floor to sing the fight song and like take a picture. And it was amazing. It was amazing. So yeah. Okay. How was it having all of your siblings together? Mackenzie, it was amazing. And it was, some of them like they've all met in some combination, some way, shape or form, but they'd never all been together at the same time. And it was really, really cool. And then our extended family as well, like having people meet, even like one of my best friends, one of my bridesmaids, having her meet my parents because she had never, or my dad, because my dad lives in Texas. She'd never met my dad and my stepmom. And that was a big thing for me because they have a lot in common and I wanted them to meet. And it was just really great. Sarah, did anybody at the wedding ask you when you're having kids? At the wedding, no, but our parents all gave toasts at the rehearsal dinner, and every single one of them mentioned it. Every single one. Was Sam surprised by your dress? Absolutely, Heather. So Sam was, if you did not see pictures on Instagram, Sam was convinced that my dress had sleeves. Convinced. And it wasn't. It wasn't. What was your favorite moment and most surprising moment? Okay, so I gave my top 3 favorite moments already. The most surprising moment, there wasn't, I mean, for the most part, like it was amazing, but it was like almost exactly that I had planned. Like there was nothing that really like shocked me per se. We were really ahead on photos. Like I thought we did immediate family photos and bridal party photos pre the wedding. And I thought we were going to be cutting it close. And we had about 30 minutes to hang out and just like chat, all of us, before we had to like get set for the ceremony. And that was really nice. Jumping in with a non-wedding question. What have you done to be better about saying no to things? I'm struggling with burnout. Want next month to be a nothing planned on the weekend. How do I fight my want to be spontaneous? So what I have to remind myself of is anytime you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I think about what is it that I'm saying no to, right? And what is the importance of those two things? And it's up to me to decide. And I have found that having hard and fast rules, like I don't do this, I don't do that, is really tough for me because sometimes there are just things that you want to do and there's people that you want to see and you can't, like, life is too short to not say yes to some of those activities, but you can't say yes to all of them unless you are preparing for the burnout experience. And so what am I saying yes to? What am I giving up by saying yes to this? And is that worth it for me? Like, am I willing to do that? And just asking myself those questions and handling it one situation at a time and reminding myself that that decision is up to me. Just because I made a decision once before about whatever scenario doesn't mean that I have to make that same exact decision about something else. Like, every situation is unique and I get to make those decisions. And I have just had to work really hard and not worry what other people think about those decisions. Jennifer, can we see your rings? Yeah. So the band is just a duplicate of my actual engagement ring, but just obviously without the center diamond. They both stop on the back. There's no baby diamonds on the back, but it's exactly the same. Sorry, this is really hard to do back. It's like backwards on the computer. So hopefully that was enough. Was my dress as comfortable as it looked? Absolutely. Yeah. No, my dress was super fantastic. I will tell you, it had a little eye hook at the top of the zipper. And at one point I sat down to do something, or I bent over to do something, and it snapped off completely, which whatever is fine. It was fine. So then after that, I was a little bit, I was going to run up and get a safety pin, or my mom was going to run up and get a safety pin. And then she was like, no, it looks like it's staying. I was a little bit nervous that the zipper was going to fall once the eye hook was no longer hooked. But so I was a little bit nervous about that. It wasn't that my dress wasn't comfortable. It was just that, like, I was nervous the zipper was going to come down, but it was fine. Adrian, planner question. I have bought tons of planners. Don't worry, we have all been there. Right now, I have a Moxie Weekly A5 Unbound and a Filofax and an ECLP Weekly. Neither one really works in this season. So here's what I would ask myself, Adrian. What is working and what isn't working about them? And then which one has what's working, has more of what's working? Let's start with that one. Are the things that are not working, are they things that you could change? Like, could you use washi to cover something up and split a box into two? Could you like add in more inserts into the Filofax to make it work? Like, are the things that are not working, what can you change about them? Because what I have found is most of the time, our seasons change so quickly that it's hard sometimes to find a planner that is going to stick with you in every season for an entire year. It's just life changes too quickly. And so we just have to either, if you're like me, you've got lots of planners that you bounce between, or you have daily notepads that you bounce between to have what works for you. But if you don't have that, then it's altering what you do have to have the one that works the best, and then making alterations or using a notebook or a notepad to help make it work for you as best as you can. Also, I realized I never told you what was in this. It's just a latte. It's just a plain latte with milk. Emily, I saw the chairlifting story. Was that terrifying? Yeah, it was. And let me tell you, I like heights and roller coasters. I've been skydiving. I like all those kinds of things. All those kinds of things come with seatbelts and safety harnesses, being lifted into a chair. And we did it very early on so that people were still sober. And I was so frightened and so scared. I was so scared. It was very, very scary. And I know I've gotten lots of messages from those of you who are also Jewish. Also in terms of in Sam, I am not Jewish, that it is possible I will have to do that again if my children, we did not have our parents participate. But it is tradition that the parents of the bride or groom will also participate. So if my children ask me someday, we'll do it again, but I really don't want to. Something borrow blue, etc. If you're comfortable sharing. Yeah. Most of them. So something new was my dress. It was mine. I bought it. I picked it out. It was my dress. My something borrowed was my jewelry that I had on. That was my mom's necklace and earring set that I wore. My something old, I had pins from my grandmother, like brooches, that kind of pins, PINS, attached to my flowers. That was my something old. And then my something blue, I'm not going to tell you what it was. You can probably guess. Oh, continuing the planner question. I'm sorry I didn't see there was a second piece of this. The weight is too much. You need space to plan and write, but you need less weight. Okay, so that's the beauty of an Unbound like that, right? Just put in the current month, and then you only have those pages and you don't have to worry about it. That's the beauty of using something like a Filofax, is that you don't have to worry about having that much weight. What I have seen people do is take just the monthlies so that you can write on the future months, and then only have the weeklies for the current month. And then each month you'll just have to, update that, but then it will be way, way less heavy, way, way lighter. Heather, at what point did the wedding feel real? Does it feel weird saying husband after saying fiance for so long? Absolutely, it feels weird saying husband. It felt real the next morning. We were talking to my dad. It feels like we're part of some cool kids club now, some grown up cool kids club now that we're married. But it feels real. Anytime we introduce people, or when we were out and about on our mini moon, this is my husband, this is my wife, it did kind of feel real. Now that we're back in New York in our own apartment, it's kind of business as usual, and nothing feels quite different. But we have a couple social things this weekend that we're both going to end up meeting new people that we've never met before. And I have a feeling introducing each other will feel that will make it feel real too. Anything you would change about the wedding? Not necessarily change. I'll tell you the two little things that went wrong. And wrong is a very relative statement. They're not that big of a deal. It is not that I'm not frustrated, but maybe this will help somebody else. So Traditionally, as part of a Jewish wedding, you would provide kippot for the gentleman that has like the date of the wedding and the name. And we had custom made, and they were down by the ceremony space, which was nowhere near where our family, anybody that was part of the processional family and or bridal party, was positioned before the ceremony started. So they did not get a chance to grab one, Sam included. So none of our Jewish family members, bridal party members, or Sam had a kippot on during the ceremony until the very end, when Sam realized it. He actually borrowed the rabbis for the very end of the ceremony. So some of the ceremony pictures have him without one and some of them have him with one. Again, not that big of a deal. Someone never really thought about grabbing a stack and putting them into where those people could grab them before the ceremony. And then one other thing that went wrong. Oh my gosh. I love my husband, and he did a lot of wonderful, wonderful things for the wedding to help us. One of those things was ordering our late night snack, which if you are from Texas was from Whataburger. However, he did not give them any other phone number or contact information besides his own. So when they showed up at 9:45 to deliver our late night snack, they tried to call him and he did not answer because he did not have his phone. They could not figure out where to go, where to drop it off. And they did not find somebody, or someone did not find them until like 11 when the reception was ending. So we ended up having it at the after party, which was not everybody. People were like, why do you have so many people? Everybody at the after party thought we planned it that way and we over ordered. And it was just supposed to be there way earlier for everybody that was at the reception. So not a big deal. They got eaten. Truthfully, some of those people ate like 2 or 3. So it ended up being just fine. But I would change those because I like it, something I would have done differently, but no, nothing else really. I have 2 people that asked me about my favorite part of the mini moon. Honestly, it was just having it, like being able to have 2 days where we just could be alone and we didn't have to go back to real life yet, but we weren't like, I'm glad it wasn't like a full-blown honeymoon because I was exhausted. I slept 12 hours on Sunday night. We went out to an early dinner when we got there and then literally crashed and slept 12 hours through Monday morning. And it was fantastic. So I'm just really glad that we had it, but not, it was the perfect amount of time. We had a lot of really, really great food on our mini moon. They had a lot of Fredericksburg has a lot of really great restaurants, and we had a lot of great wine, and it was just fantastic. Ashley, it still feels weird to say my husband. It's weird when he says wife because we've known each other since we were 14. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, honestly, I feel like right now I haven't forgotten it yet. I haven't messed up yet, but we'll see. Are you ready to get back to filming videos? Amanda, I don't know about that. I'm still trying to get unpacked and get resettled into a routine and whatnot of being at home. So I got to get that situated first before I can get back to filming. Shade, this is a great question. How to scale back to things you previously committed to? Started as a manager role, and the season of life is crazy. Worried about looking unprofessional to those I'd previously committed to. So it depends, first off, on what is the level of commitment, right? Is this something that you agreed to do for a certain amount of time? Is this something that you is it through a certain date, right? Sometimes you volunteer to be on a board for a certain amount of time. Or is it just as things come up, as events come up, just thinking about what it would take for them to replace you in terms of that time, that duration commitment. Things change, seasons of life change, and being busy is it fluctuates. And if you are thoughtful in what you agreed to when you committed to it, asking to step down and giving them ample time to replace you, right? I'm going to step down starting in blank, not unprofessional whatsoever. When I worked my corporate job, there were tons of those volunteer type roles within different organizations within the company. And nobody ever thought it was unprofessional when someone was like, look, I've been doing it for this many months and it's time for me to step down. I'm going to come to 1 or 2 more meetings. We had bi-weekly meetings. So basically they were giving us a 2 or 4 week notice. And then I'm going to be, stepping down. Nobody ever thought that was unprofessional. We understood that workloads come up and volunteer type things are just that. They're volunteer type things. And anybody who's ever been in that position will not think of it that way. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Favorite song that you dance to? Oh, I mean, besides the Texas fight song, I already talked about that moment. I think it's just our generation and the fact that a lot of the guests, probably about half of the guests, were our friends in our generation. When they played Mr. Brightside, our entire dance floor was, I mean, I'm not going to lie to y'all, our entire dance floor was packed most of the night. Like people wanted to dance and it was so much fun. Like it was so much fun. But that I have a vivid memory of singing that song. And we'd gotten some advice to not separate at the reception. We did it a handful of times. Like if one of us needed a drink and the other one, we were in the middle of a conversation, one would go grab it and the other one wouldn't. So we didn't like totally follow that. But it was minimal. And so when that song came on, Sam was like, I want to dance with my college friends, my fraternity brothers. And I was like, fine. So like that's who we moved over and danced that song with. And it was a lot of fun. Ariel, I love this. It doesn't feel super real in the quiet, but meeting new people and getting to introduce each other is a fun burst of happiness for a long time. I love that. And we have 5 more weddings this year, all 5 couples of which were at ours, which was really cool. Every time I saw one of them, I was like, oh my gosh, you're next. Even though only one of them was really next for us, but that was really fun. Now that the wedding is over, do you have anything wedding related that you still need to do? Yeah, we have a couple payments to finalize, Venmoing, but back and forth between some people. Obviously, thank you notes. We've got to get started on those sooner rather than later. So my goal is to have them done before we leave for the honeymoon, which is in July, late July. So there was one other thing I wrote down that I wanted to do. Oh, so we did a photo booth, and then we had a guest book with the photo booth where you put the strip in and there was a space for people to write. Not everybody wrote. And so I want to go through and write who it is in that picture, because yeah, right now I know who it is, but like in 40 years, am I going to remember who that is? I don't know. So I want to make sure that I go in and add that stuff in our photo book. That's like a really small thing, but like those are the 3 things I put on the list today for wedding related stuff. Can you share how you're breaking down the goal? I can share when I do it. I don't know it yet. I haven't researched any of it. So do you have a favorite moment with your mom or your dad from the wedding? So my dad was probably, we spent some time alone before the obviously I feel like that makes sense. Like he walked me down the aisle. So we were alone for like 20 minutes before the ceremony started and we had some nice conversations there. With my mom was my matron of honor. If you didn't see that anywhere, you haven't heard me talk about that before. So, I mean, she was involved every moment of the day and was like always there. Like, what do you need? What do you need? But then at the reception, she was like, I'm done. And I mean, we talked about it. Like, she was like, I'm having fun. And all of her like childhood friends were there. And they had this cute picture of all of them, like people that she's been friends with since she was like 12. And it was just like really sweet. And it was like fun to see her having fun with them on the dance floor. Allison, first step to getting out of a creative funk. So I think the first thing is defining what does that mean to you, because creativity is one of those loaded words that can have a million different meanings depending on what are you working on, like what does creativity mean to you? And so feeling like defining what that means for you. Stop doing whatever, like stop trying to force it. So taking a break from whatever it is that you're trying to do that's creative, changing up your environment. I almost always get more ideas and inspiration when I'm in a different space, physically going to somewhere else. Now, if the weather's getting nicer here, you can go outside. I haven't been outside today. Apparently Sam said it's beautiful. So trying to go somewhere else to getting out of that. And really at the end of the day, trying not to force it, because it's the more that you force it, I think you're digging a deeper hole and making it harder. Alexis, are you planning to go on a honeymoon trip later in the year? Yes, we're going to Thailand at the end of July, beginning of August. So do you keep looking at your rings now that you have the wedding band? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. All the time. Heather, I love this question. Anything of your wedding that might become an anniversary tradition? So we haven't really talked about that. I think really eating barbecue, since that's the food we had at our wedding, would be a really fun, just like what, even go to a different place, go to a different city for the weekend and have barbecue. Like that would be really fun. Honestly, though, we haven't really talked about that yet. So I don't really know. Oh my gosh, Leanna, married 18 years later, and it's still fun to read our signed frame. Yeah, I almost didn't do that. Also, the guest book and then the photo booth and then the guest book with the photo booth. And I am so glad that I did. We flipped through that. So that was also, so back to the person who asked me about my favorite memory from our mini moon. That was one of them also. So we, on Monday night, sat in bed and opened up anybody that had brought an actual gift, which there were two. An actual gift, and one of them was a joke. Well, not a joke, but it was burger cookies from Baltimore, which if you're from Baltimore, you can appreciate it. Opened the actual gift, all the cards that were brought to the actual wedding, and then flipped through the guest book just like sitting there on Monday nights. And that was probably my favorite part of the mini moon, was just like being able to do that in a different space that wasn't at home. And we got to open, and we alternated reading all the cards, which, by the way, y'all, I got a card that looks like the Marauders map, but all the words are about like being married, and it's like Harry Potter puns. It's the best card I've ever received ever in my entire life, or anything ever. It's the best. But that was really fun for us to sit there and like read through the guest book and read through the cards on our mini moon. I really loved that. Yes, I can share Charlie's signature cocktail. So it was Charlie's feisty margarita. So it was a spicy margarita. We actually, based on the recommendation of the woman who helped us with the bar, it is oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of the brand, but it is a jalapeno mixer. So it's already like a spicy margarita mixer. And so it was that, tequila, and triple sec, and that's it. It was delicious. That is the only thing we ran out of. That's it. And I guess I overestimated how many people were going to have the specialty cocktail, or underestimated over the other stuff. We didn't run out of anything else except for that. So it was delicious. It was delicious. Hello. Oh my gosh. I love seeing your face on my feed. I hope that you're well. I will tell you, one of the things I missed the most about not going to Go Wild was hosting the Go Wild brunch, which is where we first met. So. Yeah, Charlie had a cocktail. That was her. She had two involvements in the wedding. She had a cocktail, and then I did custom photo booth props. So they brought their own, and there were tons. But then I also did some that were specific to us. So our sorority and fraternity letters, a longhorn, a Texas flag. I did a little Broadway sign, and I did some Charlie photo booth props, which a lot of people used. Yeah. Oh yes, I love this. We did this a couple of weeks ago, sharing your win for the week in the chat. So thank you for sharing and starting it. Jennifer, if you want to share your win in the chat, it can be related to a goal, it can be related to anything. Yours is not purchasing stickers since the beginning of the year, and you were so tempted this week. Staying strong. That's amazing. Do you have a plan to, are you not purchasing for the entire year, or are you planning to purchase at some point on your birthday, Black Friday, something like that? Because if you're trying to go the whole year, I'm going to be really impressed. Yeah, Tammy, the card was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I think it was either the first or second card we opened, and I was like, no card that we open will ever live up to the beautifulness of this card. But it was amazing. Okay, I think I'm all caught up on chat, comments. What else is on your mind? My coffee is almost gone. Sad. Oh, starting to share our wins. Megan, staying on track with your study plan. It's amazing. It's the only goal. I love that. And I've talked about this before, whether you work on multiple goals at once or you pick one goal and focus on. And sometimes it's tough to be that person that picks just one goal and goes all in, but it can be so, so beneficial. You got a promotion at work. Congratulations, Elizabeth. I love that. My win for the day is a break in my 13-day migraine. I mean, that's a win, but I'm glad that you're feeling better, and I hope that it sticks and it's not just today. Planning the leprechaun gifts for my children. Oh my gosh. I keep forgetting tomorrow's a holiday, y'all. I keep forgetting. Pauline, hello. How many planners do you keep in total? So I have a video all about my planner stack. So all the planners that I use on a regular basis. It's really, I mean, it feels like a lot to maybe somebody who doesn't love planners and paper and pens, but it really isn't all that many. My main ones, I have some sort of daily planner at my disposal always, and my Power Sheets goal planner. Like if I could, and then my Google Cal. Like if I had to only pick three, which I realize is still three, it's those are my favorite. Do you keep your cards? Heather, I do. I usually keep all cards. My grandmother always kept cards, so I wanted to keep cards. I don't know that I think our wedding cards I will for always keep, but my like birthday cards and stuff, I don't know that I want to keep them forever and ever. For now, I have them all. My win, I've decided to sign up for a group workout training. Amanda, I am so proud of you. That's amazing. I love seeing all these wins. Y'all, these are amazing. So many. Productive morning, surviving a crazy season. Love that. Shade, right, your promotion that you were just telling us about. Congrats. Talking on the phone. Mackenzie, I feel you. I feel you. Sophie, thank you for sharing your name. I always forget to mention this, but if your name on YouTube is not your actual name, I'd love for you to share your name in the comments so that I can share your name. Having a minimum, average, and high goal is so helpful. Love it. That is one of those tips that I will never stop talking about for sure. Amy, I love this. I'm having a hard week, sending you all of the strength, but still being good about checking in with your list so you don't forget. Love that. Emily, overwhelmed with my goals, so gave permission to cross it off. I love that. So good. Pauline, what single planner would you recommend, please? That is a really, 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 really hard question to answer because everybody's planner needs are so different. I cannot direct anybody to like a specific planner to start with. If you are a complete beginner, I would actually recommend going to a store like Office Max or Staples or Target and looking through all the planners that they have there. They're going to be on a much lower price point than anything that I typically purchase at this point, and figure out which one of those layouts looks like it would work best for you. I'm also going to direct you to a video, which I will link afterwards, but it is by Cindy. I'm going to spell her name wrong. If somebody else wants to drop it in the chat, I would really appreciate it. She did a video about how to pick a planner that works for you. That is the video I would watch, and then I would go shopping. So many wins. Oh my gosh, y'all. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing all of your wins. And what I love is everybody's wins are so different because everybody's goals are so different. Everyone's priorities are so different. And that is just amazing. That makes me so happy. And some of them are really, really small, and some of them are massive job type promotion, and they're all helpful and they're all beneficial for your future and your goals. Amy, question. Do you carry your planner with you? How do you A, remember your plan for the day, and B, keep track of tasks that come out while you're out and about? I don't really go out and about. I don't really go anywhere. I live and work and exist in this one space. So I don't really go anywhere. If I am out and about and then a task pops into my head, whether it's something I have to do today or tomorrow, I text it to myself. And then when I get back to my planners or my laptop, I either put it into my Google Cal or put it into my planner. But if I'm going to run an errand, right, I don't take my planner with me. And so that's a scenario. But for the most part, I just keep it all. It's all here on my desk, and I don't go very many places during the day. Thank you, Mackenzie. This is the channel, Pauline. And again, she's got a video, which is probably one of her most popular videos. That is how to pick a planner that works for you. It was she posted it probably in January-ish, if I had to guess. Yeah, great question. Any quarterly goal tips coming up? Feeling a little lost? Questions to ask yourself? A certain checklist you go down? Maybe a past video. So Heather, I don't have like a specific video on this. Sounds like I probably should. I would go watch the video I posted in December about my Q1 goals. In that video, I just talk about quarterly goals in general and how to think about them, because here's the biggest tip I can give you. Quarterly goals don't work for every person or every goal. So if you have a goal that quarterly goals don't make sense, then don't set one. You don't have to have the same. Oh my gosh. Amanda, Thank you. Um, you don't have to have the same thing, right? So whether it is no quarterly goal, whether it's a quarterly milestone that you're looking to hit, or a quarterly focus that you're looking to work on, you don't have to have it be the same for every goal. You can have some goals that don't have a quarterly focus. You can have some goals that do. You can have some goals that have a milestone. It You can do it in any way, shape, or form. So that is what I would remember. And then number 2 is going to be setting aside time to actually do it. So thank you, Amberly, for jumping in with this. If you are a member of the Patreon community, that is what we're doing on Sunday. It is earlier in the month than it typically is because we are going to spend hours setting up our quarterly goals and then also doing our April goals. So if you are a member of the Patreon community, that call is on Sunday. And if you're not, come join us, sign up and join us live. It's Sunday. It's 1 p.m. Eastern is what time that call is at on Sunday. And it's 2 hours. We will do our quarterly check-in and I will talk a little bit more about what I kind of just talked about. But it is, I lost my train of thought. It's on Sunday. And we're going to talk all about quarterly goals and setting our refresh, which normally I've always done my goals. I've had my goals done before the Patreon session. But I might not, now that I think about it. I need to schedule some time to do that. Shade, I appreciate this. The goal setting session on the Patreon has become so pivotal. I can't even talk in me setting my goals and taking actions. I feel like I need a screenshot of that. Thank you. I'm missing some chat. MJ, what planner supplies did you bring with you to Texas? Just the digital stuff. Is it the same when you travel non-wedding? So I took the full focus daily planner, which I talked about in my original planner stack video is likely going to be my travel daily, which is still true. And I take this pretty much no matter what trip I'm going on. Any trip, this planner is coming with me. For the actual wedding trip, what I also did was I took these big giant sticky notes with me. And these came in very much in handy for all kinds of things, whether it was a daily to-do list, a shopping list for a store, who knows, whatever. And then I also took this little binder that had some printed out things. So I made a photocopy of my power sheets, which I got, I checked off through Thursday and then I forgot about them. And then I also I made a weekly plan and I just cut off the end and put that in there. I had some other printout things for work, things that I did on the plane. And then some other wedding things that I printed out and put in this binder. That's what I took with me to Texas. Amy, what Patreon tier has the goal setting sessions? The $10 tier has the goal setting session. So on a month where we don't have a quarterly refresh, they're an hour. I do try to always do them on the weekends because I know that's the best time for people across all time zones. We have lots of friends in Europe as well. So on a normal month or regular month, not the right word there. A regular month, they're an hour. And the quarterly sessions are 2 hours. I'm abandoning my annual goals. They were very vague and felt too big and overwhelming, so decided I would just do quarterly. I feel like 90 days is a good tracking period for progress or wise. I love that. I think that that's great. I think you can do it. There's no right answer, right? You could do this in any way that works best for you. And for some people, having those vague annual goals is not helpful or beneficial, and focusing on one quarter at a time can be really helpful. Also, big reminder here that I feel like is not said enough. If following quarterly goals, okay, all a quarterly goal is a smaller breakdown of an annual goal. If following the actual quarters of the calendar do not work for your life, do not do that. Now it's a little bit past, right? If you felt like you needed a refresh between February and March, do it then. If you feel like you need to wait and do the refresh between April and May, do it then. You do not have to follow the quarters. Like it was 2020, 2020 was a lot of things. I kind of changed it. Like I did different quarters because of where we were in the world. So if you feel like following the quarters of the calendar year don't work for you, do your own thing. All it means is that you're chunking out your annual goals into smaller goals. Ooh, this is a tough question, Lisa. Any presentation tips for a mixed group of people, half very knowledgeable on a topic and half little to no knowledge? So unfortunately, in this scenario, you have to cater to the people with little or no knowledge, because they are not probably going to get the benefits of the presentation if you assume they know things that they do not know. But just consider what is the bare minimum that they need in terms of knowledge to benefit from whatever your teaching points are that are part of the presentation. Is there any prep work we should do for before the Patreon session this weekend? If you want to start thinking about some of your quarterly goals, you absolutely can, Mackenzie, but it is not necessary. You can 100% show up on Sunday with whatever goal setting tool you use and do the work. It's like a workshop, in case that wasn't clear. Like, you're going to be doing the work. So I know you know that, but like for other people. But Pauline, the layout of the, I'm not going to show you today's because I already wrote something on it that I don't want. I did do a full review of this planner, but here's the layout. What I like about this planner, what makes it my great travel planner, is this whole full notes page on the side. I use this a lot when I travel, just like having the extra notes page per day. So yeah. What I don't like about this planner, the paper is slightly off-white, which is why I don't use it on a regular basis, but it is small, which is why I like it for travel. And I don't love the wire O, but we do what we have to do. Amy, great question. How do you adapt your morning routine when you travel? Do you shorten it or abandon it? Depends on the type of trip that I'm going on. Most of the time, let me take this back. Most of the time I just shorten it. I hardly ever fully abandon it, because even if it is as small as having my coffee and reading a book while I'm like having my coffee, in my mind, that's still just a shortened version of my morning routine. Which when we travel, like when we were on vacation over Thanksgiving, like that's what I did. I didn't do anything else. Like I didn't journal. I didn't deal with anything else, but I still read and had my cup of coffee. And that was just a shortened version. When we were on this trip, it was like a little couple more steps than that, but still a very shortened version. But then I abandoned it like the day before the wedding. And then I didn't do anything until I didn't even do anything today. I'll pick it back up tomorrow. So asking yourself, what are the most important things and what makes you feel like you're starting your day off on the right foot, but letting it go if that doesn't help you and you want to just enjoy your trip. Krista, I am creating an evening routine on my goals to make our mornings easier with our girls, but struggling to actually create it. So when you say create, I'm assuming you mean like, what is the routine versus implementing it? And especially for an evening routine to make mornings easier is asking yourself, what would make your morning easier? Just literally asking yourself that question. It's actually one of the Lazy Genius questions in that book, The Lazy Genius Way, which is one of my favorites. She calls it the magic question, which is, what can I do now to make something easier later? And that's all you're doing, is you're asking yourself, what can I do now to make the morning easier? And making a list, start by just brain dumping a list. Don't edit while you write. Don't say to yourself, well, I don't have time for that. Or there's no way we would do that every day. Don't edit in your head, write it, get all the ideas out on paper. And then you can chunk them into 100%. I want to do this. Maybe I'm going to try this. And okay, probably not. I'm going to do this, but it's on the list just in case. And then just start trying things. The biggest thing I've learned about morning routines or routines of evening, all the routines in general, is I don't know what will work until I start doing it. And so you've got to just start trying. Creating this perfect routine on paper is only going to do you so much good until you actually test it and see if it helps get you to where you want to go. So start trying the steps and seeing if they work for you. And if they do, great, keep it. And if they don't, not a big deal. Even if it's something that feels like it should be there, cross it off and be okay with that. Katie, wedding planning can be so creative. Are there any parts that you enjoyed the most or will miss? At this point, after planning a wedding for 2.5 years, I'm not going to miss any of it. No, I think I'm okay. I think I can't really think of anything right now that I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss the fact that was probably the only time in my life that all of those people that I love will be in one place, but not from actual planning. Jennifer, have you spent much time planning with printed inserts? No, mostly because then I really will will lean heavily into my need for things to be perfect. And then I'll keep printing out and keep printing and be like, oh, I wrote that weird, and print out another one and start over. And I spend way too much time trying to make it look perfect. That is why I really benefit from things being coiled and spiraled. Okay, Leanna, you were cut off. Favorite way of saying no because you don't want to overcommit. Hard when volunteers are needed, but you can't take more on. I'm a stay-at-home mom and get asked to take on things a lot. I think sometimes people don't realize how much stay-at-home moms actually do. And therefore they think you have all this free time and you really do not, to help them. In reality, you don't owe anybody an explanation. And this is actually something we struggled with on the other end when people declined the wedding invites and like didn't tell us why. And at first, especially with some people, we were like, okay, but why? Like, why aren't you coming? And then finally realized, like, they don't owe us an explanation. They do not. They do not have to tell us whether it is a conflict, whether it is a financial reason, whether they just don't want to come to the state of Texas. Like, who knows what the reason is? And they don't owe us that whatsoever. The same thing goes here. You don't owe these people an explanation of why you don't want to participate in their volunteer. The best tip I heard for this is that if you can, recommend someone in your place. So no, I cannot do that. So-and-so would be a great option. Here's someone you could call. Here's somebody else you could ask. I think so-and-so would be really great for this, right? Give them a solution to you. It's not your job to do that, but that is, I found, again, yes, Melissa, no is a complete sentence, but we struggle with that, right? We struggle to just say no and thank you, goodbye. But so you need a follow-up, no, blah, 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 blah. That's a good follow-up without it being a reason. You're just giving them something else. It could also just be as easy as, no, thank you for thinking of me. The end. So I hope that helps a little bit. On a live a few weeks ago, you mentioned your 3 favorite podcasts, but I missed the last name of Judy. Yeah, it's Holler, Holler. Her podcast is Yes and, like YES, comma, and. And then the other 2, for those who don't want to go back, if you weren't here for that, are the Lazy Genius podcast, which is from The Lazy Genius Way, the book I just talked about. And then John Acuff's podcast, All It Takes Is a Goal. Those are the best. Oh, Vic, thank you for sharing your name. You're getting started on wedding planning, even though you're not engaged yet. I'm overwhelmed and narrowing down ideas. Where did you start? So for a lot of wedding things, I kind of already had an idea of things. Like there were some pieces of it that I didn't need to narrow down. My biggest tip on where to start is priorities. What I would break up things that are part of a wedding into 3 categories. Incredibly important. And I would ask your spouse, your future spouse, to do the same thing. Really important. These things are really important to me. And they could be things like, for us, from both of us, things like the number of people. Like, we don't want to have to worry about cutting the guest list. So what's really important to me? What is kind of important to me? What kind of follows in the middle? And then what is not important to me whatsoever? And then you can start going through those based on priorities. So some of the not important to me whatsoever aren't necessarily going to be able to be things that you cross off. Some of them you can. Some of them I would go through and be like, we're not doing that, right? Like the day after brunch. Nope, not doing that. That's not important to us, and we're not doing it. Some things like flowers were not important to me, but like me and the bridesmaids needed bouquets. Otherwise, no flowers. Now, we also did end up with flowers on the huppah, if you saw the pictures. But those, I actually don't know if I posted any pictures of that. So maybe you didn't see those pictures, but that was somebody else wanted that. And so they offered to be in charge of it. And that is how that got involved. But it was originally on my I don't care list. And then I would start with the priorities. And what does that mean? And really, again, there's a lot of pieces to planning a wedding. Pinterest is a great resource from an idea standpoint, just like cutting out pictures. I also bought a lot of wedding magazines at the beginning and just got ideas and flipped through. So hopefully that helps. If you have any other questions about wedding planning, feel free to send me a DM. It is one of those things that I realized that I couldn't plan it all in advance. So I had this vision that I was going to make a plan for the planning, right? I was going to have a plan of this is what I was going to do from 12 to 18 months. And this is what I was going to do from 6 to 12 months. Now, the pandemic did throw a slight wrinkle in that scenario because I had to do things out of order, and then we postponed, and we couldn't get down to Texas as often as I wanted to, and those kinds of things. But that said, just what's the next right thing? What's the next thing I can be researching? What's the next thing I could be working on? And then the last thing I'll say on this, which, because I know this is very specific to those of you that are planning weddings, and I know that you're not the only one. Ask for help. Delegate. Like, you do not need to do everything yourself. Take the things that don't matter to you as much, but are things that you need. Ask your future spouse. Ask a family member. Ask for help. I never even saw what the shuttles look like. I couldn't tell you. It was important to me to have them because I wanted our guests at the hotel blocks to enjoy themselves at the wedding and not feel like they had to drive to the wedding. So having shuttles was very important to me. What they looked like or how many they had, like, none of that mattered to me. I never even saw them because I was hidden when they dropped them off, and I didn't leave the reception space to see them leave. So that was something I gave to Sam, and that was something that he did. So just hope that helps. And yes, this is also very true. At the end of the day, as long as you come out married, and everybody did tell us this, right, going into it, but I get it. And even after it's over, like, it was still a really, really important day. And I'm glad that I put in the time that I did going into it. And then we had the wedding that we wanted to have, and we postponed it in order to do so. Like, it's still important, and it's okay that it's important to you, and that things that are important to you are important to you. And it's okay to take the time and the finances to do it. Mm-hmm. This is also true, Ariel. People want to be involved. Yeah. I won't say who, but I had a family member like 3 days before, like, can I do something? I want a job. And I was like, okay, I will find you a job. Yes, Amy, this is a good place too. Having a wedding planning checklist gets you started and creates that momentum and gets you doing something, and then it will lead to something else. Don't worry about having the whole list, the whole plan planned out, but just get started with something. What was the book you read about sleep? It's called Why We Sleep. It can be a little scientific, a little bit. I would ignore the footnotes. Like, there's a lot of details that you don't necessarily need. But it's great. Yeah. Highly recommend if you're struggling with sleep. At the end of the book, he has like his 12 rules for sleep, which you probably can find online if you just Google. Maybe start with those instead of reading the whole book. Start implementing some of those. And I will tell you, I don't implement all of them, but I do still feel like I get good sleep. The coffee is gone, which is very sad. I can't believe we're almost out of time. Any other questions? Anything else that you're struggling with? Any other wedding questions that you have? Also, we don't have to be done talking about the wedding after today. I'm happy to answer any future questions, and I will continue to share photos. I only have like 20 right now. Although my photographer, the fact that she sent me 20 the next day was amazing. I was like not expecting that. I was expecting maybe like 1 or 2 the next day, or 2 or 3 days later. She sent me 20 the next morning and at like 10 a.m. So I will continue to share some of them while I wait for all of the rest of them. But they turned out so beautiful. She's the best. All the lighting was great. I love them. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will jump to my last question. If you have any last minute questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to jump to my last question, which is, what is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? It doesn't have to be huge, and maybe it is. Before you ask us, Emily, what is one thing I'm doing this week for goals? Likely doing my quarterly refresh. So I'm asking you, what is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? It doesn't have to be huge. It can be very small. Maybe like me, it is my quarterly refresh, checking in with my goals, resetting up my goals for Q2, getting situated with that. It doesn't have to be massive. MJ, what are we having for dinner? I decided to try Green Chef, which is one of those like meal delivery services, and it's getting delivered today. Fingers crossed. And we're going to make one of those. I knew we weren't going to want to deal with going shopping and dealing with that. What is the first event you're looking forward to as a married couple? We have 2 parties this weekend, which I'm excited about. But then probably I'm having a birthday party next week. So that's what I'm excited about. Okay. Printing out documents for taxes. Oh my goodness, taxes. Just keep studying and let everything else go, Megan. Don't worry about it. Signing up for the workout group, finish your pre-test, getting back to your pre-vacation routine. I love that, Tammy. Diana, can you talk a little bit about the live you're going to have about goals with your Patreon group? Can anyone join? Anybody can join Patreon, and you do have to be a member of Patreon in order to participate in the live on Sunday. It is a session that we do. We do this every month where we hop on Zoom and I walk you through setting up your goals for the following month. It's a workshop format where it doesn't matter what goal system you use. If you use the Power Sheets, the Moxie Life, or none of the above, you can join. And I tell you what to do based on whatever tool it is that you're using. On a regular basis, on a regular month, it's just an hour to set up the following month. This Sunday, it is 2 hours because we're going to spend 1 hour doing a quarterly refresh and checking in with our quarterly goals. Even if you don't set quarterly goals, I still recommend you joining on Sunday because I'm going to give you some things to think about for your annual goals as well. And then we're going to do a quarterly refresh, and then we'll set up April is the second half of the session. So if you have any other questions about that, and that wasn't clear, send me a DM on Instagram. Let's chat about it. And I can let you know any other questions that you have about that session. Lots of people joining the session. A treadmill arriving. That's fun. So fun. Yeah. We liked Green Chef, but not the overall meal selections. Tammy, honestly, we've tried pretty much every one of them. They sent us one of those things in the mail where this first box was like 50% off. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I don't know that we'll continue it at all, but it was perfect for this. And I think in the future, if we have like long vacations, it's good for when we come back, especially when we come back in the middle of the week like this. I think it's really helpful. Super, super helpful. All right. I am always here to remind you that it doesn't take big steps. Small steps on your goals add up over time. And I promise that you will see progress along the way. Thank you all for chatting with me today. I had so much fun. I mean, we talked about goals, we talked about planners, and we talked a lot about the wedding. But I appreciate all of you. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching.